We talk a lot about gender these days, about man, woman, and everything in between. But maybe what's really happening is not about gender, it's about energy. About what kind of energy is safe to embody in the public space. In the last decades, something very important happened. Men started to not feel safe to be men anymore. They've called it toxic masculinity. Meanwhile, women started to carry more and more of that masculine role, leading, providing, organizing, proving, and we called that progress. But underneath, at least I feel, and I can prove it with my life experience, and you're very much invited to share your perspective as well. But meanwhile, underneath it, something got confused. It's not that it's wrong that women stepped up and that men became actually weak. It's that the whole system just is flipped upside down, and now everyone feels a little out of place. Of course, there are many masculine men visible in the public. You can see them in this pick up high red pill masculine podcasts. But these are the extremes because the mainstream media is suppressing and blaming and demonizing the pure masculine energy in men. Those toxic versions, the pickup artists, those red pillars, these are part of the dynamic. They are a symptom of this dynamic. When balanced masculinity disappears from the screens, the only thing left are those distortions. And so the mainstream media can continue to perpetuate those lies, perpetuate those prejudices, and perpetuate those biases. At the same time, the system required women in the last years to become stronger. To become stronger in a system that expected them to do it all. Have you seen the Barbie movie? That's basically what we're talking about. Careers, motherhood, beauty, perfection. We started to measure a woman by her ability to suppress her own core essence, by forcing her to always be in work mode, to always be stressed about all the things, to carry so much weight. We in general started to believe that softness means weakness, that showing emotion made you less respected, that being passive is bad, and that everybody should be that confident and boss babe and all-ruling feminist superstar that can just do it all. The more we pushed into that, we started to become masculine. I can not stress that enough. I mean, I was raised rather feminist. I was an A student, straight A's. I studied law. I was so disciplined. I was so strong. Everything I was young energy, masculine energy. I was so focused and logical, and I was not able to receive myself, my feelings, my being. I was always in doing mode. I was a human doing, not a human being. When I look around, I see women who can do the same as men, who try to be better men, and they sometimes even are better men in leadership roles, being sharp, being strong, being competitive. But that's only for the sake of our essence. And I'm also just learning and exploring about what my core essence, my femininity is all about. When masculine energy no longer has a clear and valued place in society, some men will naturally move toward what is accepted. I don't think that this is a conscious manipulation tactic. It's just energy that finds its way. Being a woman in our culture nowadays, and we're talking about the academic West, especially in the US, the progressive countries, Germany, Europe, being a woman is an advantage. You can say more things. You're almost impossible to be criticized. And it's crazy because it's as if women are so weak that we need to be put on a pedestal all the time, as if we could not be equal to men without that push, this unnatural push. So here's the paradox. Men are told their power is dangerous and needs to suppress her soft feminine energy. And I mean, big disclaimer, I know I am a strong woman. I know that women are strong, but it's more, I just realized, and maybe I tell you that story before we go to the conclusion, just let that story give you a perspective. I was in Berlin, and I did free human design readings in the Mauerpark. And I just put there a sign, free human design reading. And I had many very interesting conversations with random people. And there was this one person coming up, and this person looked like a man. They got a mustache, like the body of a man, and nail polish and some jewelry. But that's even for heterosexual men in Berlin, that's nothing special. But at that time, it's a few years back in the day, at that time I thought they were a gay man because they didn't share anything about their sexuality. This was just my experience of being with a person. They felt somehow more feminine in their talking, in their body language. And we did the reading, it was fine. And then afterwards, I was very exhausted. They asked if we should grab dinner together. And in my mind, I was like, oh, I'm very tired. Like my baby girl over there. But then I thought, yeah, going to eat pizza with a girl, basically, because gay men feel like girls, to have like a girls' evening, that's fine. So we separated and then we met again to have pizza. And then I realized through the conversation that, because they then said that to me, they said they are a trans woman, a gay trans woman. So they were thinking that this was a date. And I felt very uncomfortable because I thought I was assuming their gender was male and that I was assuming that their sexuality was gay, because there were no signs that this person is a woman, because it was a biological male with a mustache that was sexually interested in women. But then I was curious and I'm open. Like I honestly feel like if you see yourself on the spectrum, if you're transgender yourself, whatever, like my heart loves every human. I don't make a difference. This is just my personal opinion on that. I asked them, why do you think you're a woman? And maybe for context, it's interesting that they got no father. Their father was just someone who nut in a cup, because their mother, they were American, their mother went to a semen bank and just got pregnant by her own. So they just grew up with that woman. It was an older lady. So that person told me when they were 6 years old, they liked nail polish. They liked nail polish, and that's one of the first signs when they knew they are a woman. And I was sitting there highly uncomfortable in that situation, because there was this sexual interest coming towards me from this man who was claiming to be a woman that was gay. And I felt deep in my core, and that's why I'm telling that story. I don't know what femininity means. I don't know what it means to be a woman except from biological facts. But I felt from the most feminine, from my most womanly-less place in my core, you don't know nothing what it means to be a woman. Are you telling me you're a woman because you like nail polish? That's actually so disrespectful. I don't know how it's like to be a garage or giraffe or an elephant. I don't fucking know. I can imagine, but I don't know. Or when I was also in Berlin at a circle, a women's circle, and I was a trans woman there. And the whole energy, and we actually talked about that, the whole energy shifted when that trans woman came in. Because there's a certain feeling when we're just by ourselves. And I don't want any trans woman to feel offended off of that. But from my personal experience, that's a fact. Funnily, I see much more trans women in like public space, in like visible internet space. And I was wondering, why is that? I did a little more research while cutting the video, and I found so many cis women talking about detransitioning, and that they actually brainwashed themselves that this hardware solution, like doing all the surgeries to become a different gender, was actually a not working hardware quick fix for their software problem. And I linked one very specific video in the video description, which I find very eye-opening and interesting, that it's especially trans man, detransitioned trans man, also called cis woman, that are talking about how difficult it is to talk about detransitioning in the public, and that it's actually oppressed. And yeah, so this is a video you should definitely check out. And I have an idea, and I want to propose this idea to you to discuss about it. I have the idea that being a woman is an advantage. You have more power. You can say more things. We live in very interesting times where, at least in our cultural environment, being a woman is an advantage. And being a masculine, powerful man is demonized. So what would you naturally do as a man? You would change. You would go into that position in which you have more power, in which your voice matters more. I see that men, in their natural strive for power, saw the opportunity to gain power again by becoming a woman. And at the same time, we as women, we are men. We are forced to be men. We are only taken seriously if we are productive, if we have careers, if we embody those typical masculine traits. So everything is flipped around. The cost is enormous. Women are burning out, not because they're weak, but their true strength, their true power lies in receiving life, not fighting. Men are disconnected from their strength, from their core. They lose direction and purpose. And at the same time, we are not equal, because we are equal, but we are not making everybody equal. We are trying to make everybody the same. So we are men, they are weak. So we have soft men and strong women. And that leads to competition, because you will never get the man out of the man. but they see women as competition that they are not able to have victory over, because men don't want to fight women. At the same time, we have women yearning for strong men that hold them, that give them the space to feel their emotions and let go and relax in their nervous system. Maybe the real crisis is not about gender at all. Maybe it's about energetic confusion. It's about forgetting, honoring both sides, yin and yang. Because these are the both sides of living. The doing and the being. The giving and the receiving. The holding and the flowing. Maybe we are obsessed about redefining gender because we lost our natural polarity. We no longer trust difference. I'm not calling for old traditions. Those systems had their own wounds, like oppression, silence, and shame. But throwing them away erased their wisdom too. The beauty of care, of protection, of presence. Those were never the enemies. The enemy was power without consciousness. Now we are invited to rebuild from awareness, not rebellion, to rediscover what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman. To be a man as embodied truth. To be a woman as embodied truth. Not as a performance. So instead of advice, I know this video is maybe kind of messy because it's just me rambling, having thoughts and feelings about that topic. But here are some questions for yourself to reflect, because I don't think that I know what the core of those polarities, the core of those masculine and feminine energies really is about. But I'm exploring, and I want to invite you to explore for yourself. So, first question for men: where have you surrendered your natural power out of fear of being judged? And for women, where have you rejected your softness out of fear of being powerless? Now again, for men, what do you think? How would leadership would look like if it was not coming from domination, but out of integrity? And for women, what would power look like if it was not coming from control, but from openness? Maybe the goal is not to trade gender, but to remember our essence. Maybe liberation doesn't mean to become everything. Maybe it's becoming who you truly are. So when you see those shifts in society, men softening, women hardening, gender lines dissolving, don't rush into opinion. Try to look deeper, see beyond the surface, feel the energies, because I can wear manly clothes and still be very feminine. It's not about clothes, it's not about appearance, it's about energy. And we have both. I mean, of course, I have masculine energy and men have feminine energy, and it's also very important to cultivate that. So if you're a very masculine man, maybe you should look at your feminine side, and if you're a very feminine woman, maybe you need to work on your masculine side as well. So you see, this is a very complicated and complex topic, but I hope what I just shared makes sense to you. If you have questions or opinions, I feel very open to listen to them in the comments. But before you rush into arguments, please take a second and ask yourself if it's your ego being offended, or if there are some things that I just see wrong, or if there's maybe some truth in it. And if you resonate, I'd love to hear that as well, and from your experiences. Thank you so much for watching this video. Check out my subliminals, and we see each other next week, next Sunday, in the next video. Bye.